Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Now, our special guest today is Kyla. I'm going to try to pronounce this
You
correctly.
got it.
Dufresne, right? Did I
Yeah.
say that right? Yay! Kyla is an adventurous, motorcycle riding, ultra capable stepmama who is passionately building an exciting brand that has had a positive ripple effect on the lives of women around the world. The Foxy Box brand is leaving a footprint of simple, engaging, and self empowering principles that allow women to live a life of choice. Kyla's authentic, kind, yet non BS approach allows women to celebrate their uniqueness and stand in their true power. In her early 20s, and she's going to probably talk about this, Kyla started a small t-shirt line and sold them at music festivals and markets. But her entrepreneurial radar went on high alert when she noticed the gap in the market for affordable and quick Brazilians. So we're going to talk all about that. Welcome to the show, Kyla. We really appreciate you making time for us.
Thank you. Thank you. I sound so cool when you read me out like that. It's nice to
You
hear
are very cool indeed.
it.
So you have this really interesting career track as an entrepreneur, some successes, some failures, a big success. But take us back a little bit before that. Take us back to your childhood. Tell us about that a bit.
Yeah, so I think entrepreneurship is in my DNA. My father was a hustler himself, my late father, but he would call himself a hustler as well. You know, dropped out of high school in grade 8 and just made money. He became a logger and always had a side hustle. Robbie D always was doing something to make money on the side. You know, in fact, he used to make all of our branded mugs. I have one here. He used to have all of our branded mugs and t-shirts. Like he always had a side hustle going on. So I think I get that hustler side from my father. And my mother was actually an entrepreneur as well. So when I was about 8 years old, she started a bakery. And that was my very first job. When I was 10 years old, I was in there making muffins and coffees and working for her. But I watched her, you know, work from 5 a.m. bakeries, you have to be there very early, and didn't get home until 7 o'clock at night. My mom gave her whole life to this business. She really wanted to be an entrepreneur. You know, she sold the business when I was in my 20s. And when she sold the business, she still owed money when she sold it, you know, like she just couldn't get ahead. So I watched her create a job for herself and give a life to, because she just wanted so bad to be a business owner. So yeah, I've been surrounded by hustlers and entrepreneurs, and I got to learn from both of them as to what I should do or what I shouldn't do, and take pieces from both of them. So definitely in my DNA.
Well, yeah, it definitely, Kyla, is in your DNA, this hustler side, and then this discipline and commitment that your mother had. But the story is kind of a sad story at the same time, because it sounds like mom was putting in 12, 14 hours a day, and at the end still hadn't made money. How did that affect you as a kid and then later as an entrepreneur yourself?
Ooh, yeah, I think two parts. When I was younger, I guess it really impacted me as a child, and I had a lot of struggles personally because my mom was never home. You know, there was 3 of us girls. I'm the youngest of 3. My mom wasn't around. My father was a logger, so he never lived with us. He lived at camp. So we saw him every other weekend. So essentially, we were left to our own devices since I was 8 years old. So I had a lot of insecurities and didn't feel loved. And there was a lot of, barriers, I guess. And also, I come from a lineage of alcoholics. So my father's a logger. He's also an alcoholic. Pardon me, he's since passed. But you know, my sister, she had struggled with addiction, and so when I was, you know, in those young years when my mom started her business and was away, and I didn't have my father either, I didn't have guidance, and I lacked that loving, nurturing. So you know, I got into trouble myself. So I turned to alcohol and drugs at a young age, and it really took. You know, I had to remove myself from where I lived actually to get out of that and start new and reflect back to go, okay, yep, that's not where I want to be. That's not who I want to be. It's still a struggle to this day. Like I said, I come from a lineage of alcoholics, but I can look back to go, okay, I need to work hard to be who I want to be, and this is not where I want to be. How that's impacted my business, you know, I watched my mom struggle so hard to become an entrepreneur, and that's all she wanted, but she didn't make any money. And so once I figured it out, you know, trial and error, I had my t-shirt line, couldn't figure out how to make money doing that, so burned that to the ground. And then I started Foxy Box, and when I found a recipe to make money, you know, I was inspired to, I want to take women who want to be in business and I want to make them money. I want to support them and help them in this crazy journey of entrepreneurism, and support them in fulfilling their dreams of being a business owner, and also a successful one. So that's really guided my passion and direction for franchising the business.
Wow.
I love this story, Tracy.
It's an amazing story. Really.
Kyla, I love this story.
It's an amazing story. And I think it's also interesting that your mom had made some mistakes, entrepreneurial mistakes that you noticed, yet you've had both successes and failures. Can you talk to us a little bit about your successes and failures?
Sure. How much time do we have?
Right, I should have been a little more specific.
Yeah.
I mean, past failures, actually.
Yeah. I love talking about my failures because I really think it's a topic that a lot of entrepreneurs are embarrassed about, or they don't like to, you know, everyone's excited to tell you how to make money and you should do this and you should do this, but it's in those failures where you really have your lessons. So I love talking about them. I have two major failures, if you will. I call them my Harvard education, but I have two big failures that got me to where we are now. So the first one was I franchised before I knew what the hell that was. So I knew when I started when I started Foxy Box, I wanted to franchise and I want to take over the world one box at a time. That was my big idea when I was 24, when I started it, right? Foxy Box was doing well. I had two of my waxers say, Kai, we want to be your first franchise. And I went, great, sign on. This was a license agreement, so it's a little bit different. You don't need to have your disclosure document and stuff like that, which you should always have, always be
Listen up, everyone.
Yeah. You should have every piece of information and be well informed to make that decision. I digress. I sold a Foxy Box to two of my wax technicians, and boy, was that a great learning experience for me. They opened their doors. I had nothing systemized. I didn't have manuals. I mean, I wrote an operations manual on the fly for them after I signed the license agreement. I didn't have a lookbook, which is we have now manuals on here's how you replicate a Foxy Box, how to build it out, everything. So when you went to the Foxy Box in Langford, other than the sign on the front of the door, you couldn't tell it was a Foxy Box. They had vintage decor, you know, beveled tile, like everything in there was not, other than a red wall and our sign, it didn't feel like a Foxy Box. So I was as well still taking clients. So I was waxing when I started my business. So I was in the room waxing. Anytime they needed help or would call me, I wasn't available for them. So that created a toxic relationship right from day one. After that relationship wasn't going well for about 6 months, I hired a franchise coach. Her name's Angela Cote. Her father started M&M Meat Shops. That's a Canadian brand. I don't know if you've heard of them. They grew to 500 locations across Canada. So I hired her. One of the biggest lessons I learned was, and this was a shift that I had to make in my mind, was once I sell a franchise, I'm no longer in the business of running a wax bar. I'm in the business of selling and supporting franchisees. That's it. I didn't know that when I sold my first franchise. So I got out of my business. I stopped waxing. I systemized everything. We have manuals now. We are probably the most over-prepared, I think, at this phase in franchising because of that experience. We couldn't repair that relationship. So we offered them two options. We'll either buy back your store, or you can just keep your location, change your name, no hard feelings. They chose the latter, so they still operate in Langford under a different name, and we're still friends, actually, which is, I think, a true testament to our brand and our culture. You know, it was like a breakup. We had to take a minute and, you know, breathe, but we came full circle, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Wow. You know, I'm proud of you for reaching out. So to someone that has had some background. It was Angela, right? Is that what you said? Angela Cote, for those of you that don't know her, she does a lot of work with emerging franchisors and has some wonderful background as a franchisor, as a franchisee. So if you're an emerging franchisor, take Kyla's advice and Tracy and I's advice. Get yourself a good coach.
Call her.
And Angela Cote is a good example of that. You know, I applaud you in this idea of embracing the mistakes and taking a look at it, and the gift that comes out of that, the learning experience and how to get better at something. But I got to tell you, at your age, I wouldn't have been able to admit I made a mistake. I wouldn't have my pride, my ego, my puffed up sense of self would be more like your mom. I'd be head down, keep on going, continue to make the same mistake and pretend those mistakes weren't happening. So what do you do with people like me, or at least when I was younger? Today I'd ask, but there's got to be a lot of people like your mom and like me that aren't asking for help, not recognizing that. How do you get over your ego and your pride? And
I mean, I guess it's an acquired skill. It's a learned skill. I definitely had a lot of ego when I was younger. You know, I look back at my Facebook and I want to delete everything from when I'm 24. I didn't know how to do that, you know, like, oh God, why would I say that? Or who would, you know, who did I think I was? So yeah, I think it is, it's humbling, and it takes those failures and getting back up, I think, to learn that, hey, that it's okay. Who are you trying to impress? But, you know, it's okay that you fail and get back up. And I think reaching out is challenging for some people. And I try and break down that. I act as a mentor for other organizations as well to help women in business. And I try and break that down, because I have a lot of friends that own salons and stuff as well that I'm always, you know, on the phone with, and asking those questions, like going deep to go, okay, well, what are you trying to hide? You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. It's okay to be real. You don't need to embellish, and you don't need to, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. And maybe that is my mental health background as well. But it's okay to reach out, and it's okay to be real. And you know, the first franchise convention I went to, I was so scared of everybody there. Like, oh my God, there's all these big business people there, and oh, you know, they're going to judge me because I'm young and all of this. And when I went, it was the most supportive, amazing network I'd ever been to. And I think that was an eye opener for me too. That was like, oh yeah, we're all here to help each other. It's not like someone's going to look at me and be like, who's this idiot who's 20 something running a business? They go, what can I do for you? You know, which was a really cool experience to have big CEOs and founders of big companies really extend a hand and go, anything you need, just call me, was really cool.
That is great.
Yeah.
So great.
I think it goes with what is right behind her there, right?
Yeah.
Stronger together, right?
That's one of our core values.
Yeah. And I was just actually going to ask you about that. You know, leadership and coaching, mentorship, that's all so important. I love that you're giving back as well. And I'm sure you have a lot of coaching and mentorship that you do among your franchisees, I'm also hearing a lot of transparency, a lot of authenticity.
Yes.
So can you speak a little bit to the culture of Foxy Box?
Yeah, for sure. I love that you use the word transparency, because one of our core values is we don't beat around the bush. Honesty and transparency are key.
That's great.
Yeah. So we say honesty and transparency are key assets to create credibility and trust. We are an open book at Foxy Box. You know, we're humans. We're not computers running a system. We make mistakes too. So for my franchisees, we want to know if we've done something wrong. Tell us right away, you know, let's fix this, or what can we do? Finances, we share numbers for all locations because we can learn from each other. That goes back to we're stronger together, you know. Oh, you know, Langford did how much in laser sales? Well, I'm going to call them, because so we are a fully transparent company, which is huge to us. I forgot the question. Sorry.
Well, you know, you're actually answering the question, like what type of culture you create. But that kind of leads to the next question, which is, how do you systematize culture?
Yeah, great question. And this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. I put in the footwork probably, well, when I hired Angela Cote, so 5 years ago now. I spent a good chunk of change on a branding retreat where I came up with our brand foundation. I knew, you know, when I've been running Foxy Box for 5 years at that time, and I knew we were cool, you know, yeah, Foxy Box is cool, but I didn't know why we were cool, or what sets us apart, or what's our differentiator, or, you know, as we grow, how do we keep and maintain this culture and this vibe that we've created? So I did a branding retreat where we came up with our brand foundation. We have our core values, our mission, our vision. But not only that, we got more granular. So it's not just words on a board or a piece of paper or a sticker put up. It's we live and breathe these core values. We came up with decision-making funnels to align ourselves with those core values, so that as we grow and scale, things are easy. And we want to make sure that it's easy for our franchisees, and that we can maintain the culture with our franchisees as we grow. So I'll give you a few examples. We figured out how we want our end user to feel. We want everyone to feel energized and powerful. This makes decision-making easy for marketing. So, you know, if I look at a photo and I go, oh, that makes me feel kind of sad, or yeah, I'm happy, but I don't feel like powerful. Okay, it's the wrong image. So we made tools to make things easy. Decision-making funnels. One of them is we figured out what 3 qualities you have to work at Foxy Box or be a part of the brand at all. Those 3 qualities are a positive attitude, empathy, and self-responsibility. We are an appointment-based business. You have to show up on time. You have to be accountable for yourself. So if you don't have any one of those 3 qualities, you don't work at Foxy Box. That makes the energy replicatable. So our franchisees, when they're looking at their staff, and like, oh, I'm having trouble with the staff member and I don't know why. And that's okay. Ask yourself, does she have these 3 qualities? Well, no, she's missing. She doesn't have a positive attitude all the time. Great. You've got the wrong candidate. You know, it just makes decision-making easy. So coming up with that foundation before replicating is going to make things easy for you. There's not going to be, well, yeah, I don't know, or I don't know why that's not working, or decision. Again, we have another decision-making funnel for our company, which is, pardon me, is it profitable? Does it elevate the brand? And does it make us and other people feel good? Okay, yeah, that makes us feel good, but it's probably going to make that person they're not going to like that. Okay, maybe it's not the right decision. Does it elevate the brand? Well, I don't know, you know, so coming up with those tools from the beginning is going to be critical to scaling and replicating culture.
That's awesome.
It's a measuring stick, right?
Sure.
So 6 things you talked about, whether it's someone we're hiring or decisions we're making corporately or at a franchisee level, they're measuring sticks. Does it do these 3 things?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then that's not the right answer. Does it do these 3 things? Well, no. Well, then maybe we need to do it a different way. So it gives us where we're all making similar decisions. It also protects the brand equity. We now know who you are at any given point. It makes decisions a lot easier too.
For
I
sure.
think, right? It's like, okay, well, that doesn't line up. What do you do to nurture that? What kind of best practices, reward systems, acknowledgement, what best practices? You mentioned the signage, but what else would nurture that kind of culture?
For sure, it starts with leadership. I mean, having great leaders in each location, which is also why we're franchising as well. So it starts with my franchise partners. You know, we need to ensure we're onboarding the right franchisee that is passionate about our brand, that aligns with our vision and our mission, and then it trickles down from there. We have. Like I said, we're a Foxy family. So we make sure that we're acknowledging our staff members' birthdays. We have a calendar. Everyone gets a bottle of wine and everyone signs a card, for our employees' birthdays, things like that. We always take them on staff parties for Christmas or after an event. We hold events every year. One of them is Client Depreciation Day. So not only do we ensure that we're taking care of our staff, but we take care of our clients, because without them, we wouldn't be around. And so every year we hold Client Appreciation Day. This has been our 5th year doing it. We give free services all day long. We're stacked, is fully booked, and then we offer huge discounts. So in turn, it's actually, the first year we did it, we just did free services. And I went, oh, that's really expensive. I don't know if we can do that. And then moving forward, we pivoted and we offer discounts on all bundles. So we did 30% off packages. It's actually the top sales day for all of our locations every year. So we are giving free services all day long, and it's one of the biggest sales days for everybody. So we give back to our clients. We have an event called Foxy Fest, and it's cool because the staff are all a part of this as well, right? We're really bringing them into the culture and creating this environment that they want to be in. You spend most time at work, you should enjoy where you work, right? So Foxy Fest is a fundraiser we hold every year. My future plan is to have my own foundation one day. We will have a Foxy Foundation. I don't know what that looks like yet, but for the last 3 or 4 years now, we've held events in each town that we're in. Pre-COVID, it was a live event. So we would rent a venue, have comedians, spoken word poets, dancers, musicians, all volunteer their time on International Women's Day, and all the ticket sales went to a local charity. And it's a party. It was fun, and so all of our staff are a part of that as well, and they get to come out and have fun and support a great cause. The last 2 years, because of COVID, we've pivoted and done visual artists. So featuring, we did mugs and t-shirt sales to raise money for charities. But all of these events and things, it's we're keeping people engaged and creating a community, and so it's important to us that our leaders in each of our locations are big on community impact as well, because we're huge on creating that energy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It makes such an impact in society. All right, quick question. Are most of your, I would assume most of your franchisees are female. Are all of them female?
We do have a husband and wife in the system. So she is the operator, but the two of them are our partners. Johnny is lovely. He's more the back end and hops on the call with our COO to go over numbers and stuff. And Min is really the face of the business. So, we work with everybody, but they're all female operated.
Yeah, because we as women are very driven to nurture and give back to our communities also. Yeah. So I'm sure that really lends itself to that type of culture that you're creating. I was also wondering how your early days of working in a family business with your mom impacted this incredible ability you have to create such an inclusive family style atmosphere.
It is so cool. There's one of our stores in Duncan on the island here. Her daughter is her receptionist, and it actually, I wrote her a lovely message the other day that I read. It is so cool to see you guys working together, because as a kid, you're instilling this work ethic in your children, and they're going to look up to you. She's going to look up to you like, my mom is a boss. My mom owns a business. It's cool. As a kid, I thought every business owner was a rock star. I didn't know business was tough and a lot of them don't make money. And, I didn't know, I was like, every business owner is a rock star, So, I think it's a cool feeling to see our franchisees that following suit. But it is, yeah, it's my sisters and my mom, we all worked in my mom's bakery, and it was you get that's your time to spend together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good education for children to experience entrepreneurship and that level of commitment, that level of discipline, that sense of community or family that you're talking about there, Tracy. I did similar with my two children because I've been an entrepreneur all my life, sometimes successful, sometimes not. And my children would be right there alongside with me, traveling, doing whatever they're doing. So one of your core values is this idea of transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And my gut feel says this transparency, when allowed, right, when encouraged, whether it's with our employees or our franchisees, our partners, whatever, would then allow them to also say, I'm stuck, I'm afraid,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing. So this beautiful culture of transparency likely will have folks asking for help if necessary, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Do you think that attribute, that transparency attribute, is something we can teach others? Or do you think individuals sometimes are just more close to the chest kind of thing and they don't reveal or they don't share?
It is, yes, I think it is teachable. I think there's a lot of pieces to it, because I think ego stops a lot of transparency, and fear stops a lot of transparency. It is scary. It is scary sometimes. Sorry, I don't know if that's me dinging or I don't know how to shut off notifications. I'm great at running a business, not at technology.
We're
Running my computer.
Bells in the background.
Yeah, wedding bells. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of roadblocks to transparency. And I think that it comes with, maybe it does come from failure or getting knocked down to go, okay, yeah, I need to be transparent, or I have to, or a breaking point. What's that breaking point where I have to be transparent? It is literally like, okay, well, I've got to let somebody into it, whether it be financial, or I don't know how to run my business, or I'm not doing well. You have to be vulnerable to let somebody in, right? And that can be very scary for people. So I think it is teachable. And I think how we teach that is by being vulnerable ourselves and talking about mistakes and going, hey, it's okay. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is. You talk to the biggest CEO or business person or whomever, and I'm sure they've been kicked down, bankrupt, lost money. It's okay, and you're not alone. So, yeah, I think it is teachable, and I think it starts with people being transparent to get that.
I think there should be an award, an annual "Who Made the Biggest Mistake" award. And then, of course, I think once you present the award, they have to tell you what the gift was, what they learned from it, so the rest of us can learn from it too.
I love it.
We don't have to be embarrassed of our mistakes. We can be transparent and actually acknowledge for it, but also get a lesson.
Rebecca, this is an event that you've got to put on your vision board for next year. This is great.
You are the screw up of the year.
Yes. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Tracy, unless you have a question, I have a curveball. So if you want to stay on this topic,
Oh, no.
you better do it.
Go for it. Go for it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So motorcycles. I want to talk about motorcycles. I told you it was a curveball.
It is a
Yeah.
So, how long have you been riding?
So,
where was your favorite place you ever went, and what's on the list?
Oh, I love it, Rebecca. So I must admit that I'm not so cool anymore. I sold my motorcycle probably 2 or 3 years ago now. I'm a stepmom now, and I was too busy to ride. I think I've actually just repurchased a motorcycle jacket, and I'm starting to get my gear back because I used to live in the city and I met my honey and I live out in kind of the country-ish. And so I didn't like riding my motorcycle in the city. There's crazy drivers.
Right.
So where I live now, I'm considering getting a bike again. But when I did ride, my very favorite place to ride was through the Fraser Canyon. So my dad taught me how to ride a motorcycle. How he taught me how to ride a motorcycle was he put me on a motorcycle and went, go. Not very safe, you know.
Oh
My dad
gosh.
used to ride his motorcycle in a tank top and slippers and sweatpants. And so, you know, when I took the motorcycle course, I went, Dad, you need to have a leather, you need to have your leathers, you need to have, you know, protect yourself. Like he's old school. And so when I used to go visit him, the Fraser Canyon, I don't know if either of you ladies have been to British Columbia. It is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Wow.
So our diverse landscape is you can go from Vancouver Island, where I live, to Vancouver, which is major metropolitan city, within a 4-hour drive. You can go through canyon with waterfalls on the side of the road, river below you, to semi-desert, which is where I grew up, Kamloops, which is literally gophers and rattlesnakes and it's like hot, to wine country, all within, and lakes in a 4-hour drive. I should be a realtor. I could sell BC on anybody.
You could. I'm ready to move.
But my dad lived in the Fraser Canyon. So it's this windy, beautiful road with on a cliff on this side with a huge river here. And you literally pass waterfalls on the side of you. So when you're driving past, you can feel the elements. You can feel the chill from the water as you're riding, but it's hot as well. It was my therapy. So I need to bring it back. I got too busy and I didn't like riding where I lived. So I sold my bike, but it's time to get back into it because it literally was my therapy. Riding with just the wind it's therapeutic.
This is your sign. Okay. This is your
this
sign.
is it. Okay. I'm getting it. I'm leaving here now and going to the motorcycle store.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to make sure before our time runs out together, where can people find you? Where can they get hold of you?
So we have 13 locations right now. We aren't in the US yet. We will come for you ladies, don't you worry. But we are primarily in BC. We've got 7 or 8 locations on Vancouver Island here. We've got 2 stores in and around Vancouver, one in Port Coquitlam, one in Vancouver. And then we're also in Alberta. So we've got 1 location in Calgary. 2 locations are coming in September, one in Cochrane, another in Calgary. So we've started our Alberta expansion. And then we've got 2 stores in Ontario. So you can find us right downtown Queen Street West in Toronto, and then in Oakville, which is about 45 minutes outside of Toronto. So
fabulous. And then where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, sure. Just come over to my house. I live at, no, just kidding.
You motorcycle out there.
Yeah. You can find me on our franchise website. So foxyboxwaxbar.com is our site. foxyboxfranchise.com is our franchise site. So you can get a hold of us through there. And there's links to both through each website as well.
Beautiful.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
I have so enjoyed this conversation. I could go on and on. So Tracy, before you do your wrap up, I have a couple of things that I came away with this. It really seems like your parents and your childhood, you know, lent a good foundation for you to be an entrepreneur. You learn from their mistakes, both from a business perspective, but also from workaholism and alcoholism and all of those addictions that you learned from those things. And you have found a recipe for success. I wished we could go into what that recipe is. And the piece that really stood out to me is this culture you have created specifically around we're stronger together, transparency, being okay with failure, right? Being okay and to learn from that. And I think that is a valuable lesson. I can see big things for you and Foxy Box in the future. So thank you for spending time with us today and sharing your heart.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was a great wrap up, Rebecca.
So Tracy, anything you want to add before we log off of here?
Just the fact that at Oracle Profiles, we are in the business of values. We're just all about excavating values. And what my takeaway is that I love the fact that Foxy Box
Yes, they have.
goes according to values. You follow your values. It's all about the values. It's all about the principles and the culture. That to me, if you have that, that is the foundation. That's the building block, and you can build mountains off of that. So kudos to you for finding that out. And by the way, her recipe for success is her secret sauce.
Mhm.
So you have to have a franchise to find out what that is.
Thank you, Kyla,
Thank
for
you.
joining us. We really appreciate it, hon. We'll be keeping a close eye on you.
Awesome. I had so much fun. Thank you for having me, ladies.
Yeah, thank you.